and asleep.
Ride 'em, cowboy. No silver spurs, no 6 guns on his hip. It's 30 below and the wind cuts to the bone, and the cattle stand half blinded by the snow, waiting for food. Start pitching that hay, cowboy, or the any herd come spring. You think a cowboy's life is romantic? Just try it in winter sometime. I had a lot of fine, fancy ideas about cowboys myself when I first came out here last spring to do a picture story about them for a magazine. I was being met by a fellow named Gus Roberson, and I remember how I stood on the station platform at Gunnison, Colorado, half expecting to see him gallop up like the Lone Ranger, shoot off a gun and drawl, "Howdy, stranger." When he arrived in a pickup truck, I found myself thinking, he doesn't look like any cowboy I ever saw. More like businessman, or maybe a gentleman farmer. Gus saw right through me. As we drove off, he said, "I don't know what kind of a story you aim to do about cowboys, but if it's the old Wild West stuff, I'm afraid you're not going to find it around here." He was right. We drove through Gunnison, and it turned out to be strictly modern. And so was the highway that led to the ranch. Gus owns one of the finest ranches in the area. As we drove up, I saw cottonwood trees and things that looked pretty much like any well-to-do farm. Old buildings and new. The ranch was homesteaded by Gus's grandfather. Each generation has built it up a little more. Gus introduced me to a couple of his right-hand men, and I began to change my idea of how a cowboy really looks. We walked around looking the place. It's smaller than I thought it would be, only a few hundred acres of meadowland. But Gus told me that's all you need out here, because the cattle are moved to government-owned ranges as the seasons change, depending on where the pasture is best at that time of year. While we were talking, up rode a fellow who looked more like my idea of a real cowboy. First person I'd seen on a horse since I came west. But it turned out to be Tony Buffano, which of course no real cowboy is named. And when I saw him roll a cigarette with both hands instead of one, I was really sad. Gus wanted me to go for a ride around the ranch, and there was no way I could get out of it. I put on my brand new blues and went out like a steer going to slaughter. Now, the horse is a noble animal, too high off the ground. You fall off a horse, it's like falling out of a second-story window. This horse they had picked for me was just a little short of 3 stories. "Take it easy," Gus said. "She's a little nervous." "She's got nothing on me," I told him. I just made it to the saddle, and when I looked down at the ground, I wished I was back in Detroit. walked for a while, and Gus told me how Gunnison lies just west of the Great Divide, in the heart of the Rocky Mountains. Then my horse began to trot, and I was too busy hanging on to listen. But even on a horse, I could see that this was great country. Then we stopped, and I had my first good look around the range. It sort of took my breath away. Immense and quiet, with the wind whispering in the grass, and the mountain peaks towering against the sky. I got my first look at cowboys in action when I went out to take pictures of them branding calves. And now it began to look more like the Old West. Cattle still have to be branded as a precaution against getting lost, strayed, or stolen. The brand is the owner's identification mark. Branding burns away the hair and only sears the skin enough to leave a scar. The Roberson brand is the quarter circle L. A brand can be changed, so as an added precaution, the calf is earmarked. At the same time, it is dehorned by applying a paste which eats the horn away. Each calf is inspected for pink eye and inoculated against blackleg, a disease which used to wipe out whole herds before the serum was discovered. Gus had a calf of his own in the corral that morning, his son, learning the business, the fourth generation. It was rough, hard work, but Gus was right in there sweating it out with the other cowboys. As soon as the last calf had been finished, they were all let out to rejoin their mamas. About cattle is that every cow can tell her own calf by the scent. She never makes a mistake and keeps looking for her young one until she finds it. By this time, the boys had worked up a healthy appetite. It didn't take long for them to wash up and fall in for chow. At Gus's ranch, a cowboy eats well. Mrs. Roberson has charge of the food, and a man takes away all he can carry without a wheelbarrow. The only sound was the chomping of jaws. But a cowboy has too much energy to sit still for long. If there's nothing else to do, he'll start a roughhouse. A cowboy's everyday chores keep him plenty busy. He's a jack of all trades. Besides being nursemaid to the pedigreed stock, he has to know how to be a blacksmith and shoe his own horse. When something needs to be built or repaired, he turns carpenter. He's an expert at grooming a prize bull for a show. He can milk a cow as well as any farmhand. And in springtime, he's out there in rubber boots with a shovel, digging irrigation ditches. But when you see him riding the range or relaxing in the bunkhouse, it takes you back to the Old West.
He was huddled in a heap at the head of the draw, all cuddled in a bunch to keep warm. Lampy tied his feet, throwed him over his horse, then he started for the shack. But the wind commenced to blow, and the snow piled high and pulled Limpy straight from his track. He reached Camp 3 in the morning, and he put the little mud Rick to bed. He flopped in his bunk, unable to move. The next morning, poor Limpy were dead. Now there's a room full of a cowboy who has that kind of love, and he'll soon be riding old paint over again when he rides on that range up above.
All through May and June, the cattle have been moving up into the foothills to graze. Along about July, the grass there turns brown too, and now starts the long drive up into the mountains where the green pastures lie. Every year, the trail they take is about the same. Cattle will follow like sheep, so the cowboys pick a bull and a couple of cows who know the way and use them as leaders. With this advance group goes the trail boss, and the main herd follows.
I leave no thing. I'm gone from Montana.
The dogs help keep the herd moving. I thought they must be specially trained, but the boys said no, they just liked to do it, and one taught the other. I was right up there with the rest of the boys. The herd was only going 3 miles an hour.
We'll jump at the and the song. One went to Denver and the other went home. His wife, she died in a pool of fight, and still he keeps singing from morning till night.
The trail leads across rocky slopes and gullies and through woods, and the cowboys have their hands full keeping the herd together. By now, my horse was going his own gait, and mighty rough it was, too. I wondered how many cattle we had left behind in the woods. I was amazed to find out that we hadn't lost a single head on the drive so far, and that such a thing rarely happened. The trail wasn't always straight up, but slowly we were gaining altitude. It takes 2 to 3 days to reach the top, and the cowboys never push the herd because they don't want the cattle to lose weight. Progress may be slow, but there's never a dull minute. Cattle are contrary beasts. One may suddenly break and run for the nearest cliff, and have to be driven back before he falls and kills himself. Finally, the long drive came to an end. The cattle stood grazing quietly. The men unsaddled their horses. Even the dogs rested. And where was I? A mile and a half behind. My horse and I had reached a mutual understanding. I was to walk, he was to carry the saddle, and no charges would be brought by either party. I took quite a kidding from the boys when I arrived, but I was so glad to sit down I didn't care. We were 12,000 feet up, and it got cold that night. We needed the campfire and plenty of hot coffee to keep warm. And as we sat there, I got the strange feeling that time had moved backwards, and that all this was happening 100 years ago.